We now bring in CBS Sports NFL analyst Emory Hunt as the Mike Tomlin era continues in Pittsburgh. And while his stretch of winning seasons is impressive, Emory, it hasn't been enough to push Pittsburgh over the top. The Steelers haven't won their division since the 2020 COVID season. Some people want to put an asterisk next to that, but whatever. And then the time before that came when they last won a playoff game, which was in 2016. And things certainly won't get any easier for Pittsburgh because let's be honest, the AFC North just continues to get better. They continue to bully one another. But what does this extension of Tomlin signal for Pittsburgh?
That the standard will be the standard moving forward. That this is a guy, you touched on it beautifully by saying he has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh, and he's on the precipice of either tying that record of the Dallas Cowboys from 60-something to 83, and then subsequently topping that record of consecutive non-losing seasons. I think he's going to accomplish that. You also add the fact that he's had 10 double-digit win seasons, so he's been consistently winning in Pittsburgh with multiple quarterbacks, and that's the most impressive part about this thing is the fact that people bring up, yeah, he hadn't won a playoff game, but man, just to get to the playoffs with a lot of those quarterbacks is a feat in and of itself. And when you think about just getting to the postseason, which a lot of teams wish they can say, I mean, you got to be in it to win it, and getting there is also an accomplishment. So he's a great coach. He's a developer of talent. He does a great job situationally, which is why those Steelers are always a tough out week in, week out. And now this season, he has his best group of quarterbacks he's had since he's had the healthy Ben Roethlisberger. So expect them to not only get to the postseason once again, have a winning season once again, but they could contend for the AFC North crown. Why? Because they have been one of the few teams within that division that have given two-time MVP Lamar Jackson problems. So I like the fact that Pittsburgh is trending in the right direction, and they locked down their franchise, future Hall of Fame head coach for another 3 seasons.
You said they've been able to do it, winning with multiple quarterbacks at the helm. Well, now they've got 2 to choose from to hopefully bring them back to where they're trying to be. Now, while the Steelers minicamp kicks off on Tuesday, day 1 of mandatory minicamp was underway in Foxborough on Monday. And if we were in elementary school, Emory, they would receive a gold star on their attendance record because the Patriots had perfect attendance. You know what I'm talking about. You remember that. But they had perfect attendance across their roster on day 1 of mandatory minicamp. And that also includes Matthew Judon, who's returning after suffering that torn bicep tendon last year, and also expecting a new deal. Now, given this is a new regime under first-year head coach Jerod Mayo, and so many players, we talk about it every single week, players that are holding out while anticipating new contracts. Was this expected in your eyes coming from New England's camp?
It wasn't expected, but I'm glad to see it because what else you going to do? It's your job. Like, show up, right? And at the end of the day, it's great to get out there and build that rapport with your teammates, and you touched on is you're dead on because you have a new regime, a guy that you like in Jerod Mayo that knows a lot of you already on the roster. So why not go out there and show support for the new head coach that you probably lobbied for to be in that role? And now you get to hit the ground running, building that chemistry, building that continuity, building that cohesiveness across the board. It's a great thing for New England. I'm glad to see them go out there and have 100% participation because, again, it's your job. It's all football. What else are you going to do? I know you have the summer break or whatnot, but man, get out there with your teammates for a few days and then go on about your business with your break.
Hey, let's also stick with the Patriots for a quick second because, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson is another name out there who's looking to be re-signed. Do you think they should do that sooner than later?
Why not bring them all back? Bring everybody back in. You lose Ezekiel Elliott, who helped set the pace for the run game last year. So why not bring Ramondre Stevenson back in? So one thing I love about his game is the fact that once he got inside the green zone, which is from the 10-yard line going in, he was a monster. He was able to find pay dirt consistently. And again, he's your pace setter. You have a stable of backs. Why not get the guy that's going to be tough in the first quarter, even tougher in the fourth quarter, and his money down inside the green zone? I think they should bring him back because he helps mitigate the loss of losing Ezekiel Elliott to the Cowboys in the offseason.
Yeah, solidifying some talent on both sides of the ball. Bring them all back. That's what Emory Hunt's telling us. Bring them all back. All right, well, meanwhile, we're talking about some certainty in some areas where there was no certainty when it comes to the Jets minicamp with newly acquired edge rusher Hassan Reddick's attendance in question. He skipped OTAs, and then he was mute when he was asked if he'll be at minicamp, which kicks off on Tuesday. Now, Reddick is seeking a new deal as he is in the final year of his current contract. How concerned should the Jets be with Reddick not being there, and also considering the fact that they just traded for him just a few months back?
And that is, if you read between the lines of what went on during the trade, to where now you have this young guy, deciding to skip all of these voluntary workouts. Was he told that this was going to be something that's, yeah, we're going to get you a new deal once you get over here, and then they balked on that? And at the end of the day, we're still paddless practices. We are still in the, even though it's mandatory minicamp, it's not really important for him, especially for a guy that's job is to get after the quarterback. You need to learn a playbook for that. Just, hey, man, just see that dude with the ball, go get him. So he still has a little bit more of the luxury before he has to get out there. But it does bring in the question and concern, man, what went on during those trade conversations pre-move, and makes you wonder what was promised, what was said, and have the Jets already kind of slowly walk some of those things back, which is why he hasn't been positive and hasn't shown up out there in Florham Park.
It's certainly an interesting thing to look at, especially considering if you got your new guy that you just traded for, you're going to want him in the building during this time, building that rapport, getting comfortable with this defense. Nonetheless, I'm going to switch gears because this is something that the Falcons don't have to worry about, because out in Atlanta, their quarterback is quickly gained the respect of the locker room. Kirk Cousins, earlier during OTAs, they were set to have already started taking command of the offense. And then Drake London, he went on saying on record that he's the guy that's going to lead this team. Now, let's be honest, this is a very young team considering the age of some of these pass catchers. And obviously, Cousins is one of the most experienced on that offense. From what we've heard and what we've seen so far, what do you anticipate this Falcons team looking like in Cousins' first year in Atlanta?
Well, they do have the ability to win that division, because we know that division is definitely up in the air. The Saints defense will be excellent. So will Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay has a returning starter that has gotten them to the postseason in Baker Mayfield. And the wild card is the Carolina Panthers. But when you look at the Falcons, we thought this team would run away with that division last year, but they didn't get the quarterback play. Now we know Kirk Cousins, when he's healthy, will distribute the football to the open target. The problem is he never was the one to play above the X's and O's, and also wasn't the one to deal with pressure rather well. That gets heightened because you look at him coming off of an Achilles injury and his age. So we don't know how well he's going to be able to move, to evade pressure and to play above the X's and O's, to play off script. And if he can't do that, we'll be talking about the guy that's behind him that was drafted high in the first round. But if Cousins is healthy, if he's out there, and if he can move around enough to where he can buy some time, he's going to find the target, and they're going to put up a lot of numbers. Now, will that translate to wins? We'll see. But I do feel like, based off what we know about the defenses in the NFC South, this division will come down to the last 2 weeks of the season, and we'll see which one of these quarterbacks we've talked about is still standing in the end.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be fascinating to watch. I just go back to watching, the series quarterback, and just knowing how so many people respect and kind of just really kind of zone in on what Kirk Cousins says when he is commanding that offense. And I expect nothing different coming to Atlanta. You've got a young group of talent. I mean, you don't have Justin Jefferson there, but still, it's going to be certainly something fascinating to watch over there in the NFC South. Emory Hunt, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for the insight. The NFL on CBS returns on September 8th with several must-see matchups. Josh Allen and the Bills host Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. and the Cardinals. Tua, Tyreek Hill, and the Dolphins are set to face Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. And Justin Herbert leads the Chargers against the Raiders from SoFi Stadium. Don't forget, you can catch all that on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.